Ladies and gentlemen, in this lecture, I will introduce to you what is the Chinese philology and how we learn it efficiently. Chinese philology mainly includes graphic study, phonology, lexicology, grammar, and also the application of the related knowledge in reading ancient classics. As such, we can understand the ancient classics more effectively. Reading ancient classics requires not only the ability to look up dictionaries and read ancient annotations, which only tell what it is. In addition, we should further know why it is. Only in this way can we have the ability to further study traditional Chinese culture. We hope that the study of Chinese philology helps students to cultivate their interest in the Chinese language and the characters, and discover the fun of learning them. For this, we will introduce many interesting stories about the study of the ancient Chinese language. Firstly, we will talk about the invention of Chinese writing system. We will introduce the origin and history of the development of Chinese characters, as well as the rules of character construction. Next, we will talk about the ancient Chinese phonology and the meaning of Chinese characters in ancient classics. We will also introduce ancient grammar, syntax, and lexicology. The next part, I will introduce to you the Chinese writing system. It is very unique in the writing system of the humankind. Chinese characters have experienced thousands of years of development and evolution, starting from the simple scripts on oracle bones to Jingwen, bronze script, the Zhou dynasty, and evolved to Zhuanshu, seal script. About 5,000 years ago, there was a sage called Changjie. According to ancient records, Changjie looked up to the sky and observed the stars and their patterns. He looked down at the topography of the ground and saw the traces of the feet of birds and beasts, and realized that their diverse patterns could be distinguished. He looked at his own body and other things in nature. He grasped the features and extracted the essential meaning from the signs of nature. And then the initial form of writing was created. We have the first Chinese character dictionary compiled in 100 CE. It is a dictionary that collects about 9,000 characters, which are categorized under 540 radicals. Now, we will invite Ms. Xu Shusi to introduce some knowledge you will learn about the Chinese characters. Shusi, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Zhu, for the general introduction. Now let me introduce the knowledge we will learn about Chinese characters. For the study of Chinese characters, we will introduce the origin and evolution of Chinese characters, and also the principles of character construction. How are Chinese characters constructed? Are there any underlying rationales behind the construction? What do the components of a character contribute to its meaning? Some friends might find it difficult to learn Chinese characters as they have too many strokes to remember. In fact, Chinese characters are not as difficult as we think. After mastering the principles of character formation, we are able to get their meanings easily. As we open the door to Chinese writing, we will find a wonderful world. Chinese characters were derived from our day-to-day experiences. When we look up to the heavens or look down to the earth with careful observation, we will find that Chinese characters can be seen everywhere in nature and in our daily life. According to ancient records, Cangjie was a scribe for the Yellow Emperor who lived around 5,000 years ago. Observing the footprints of birds and animals, he realized that the patterns and forms were distinguishable and started to formulate characters. The forms of characters were derived from objects commonly seen and accessible to the user. Imagine in the snowy winter, animals leave their own distinct footprints on the snow, like the tracks of a tiger, a deer, or birds. The paw print of a puppy looks like a plum blossom, whereas the footprint of a small bird resembles a bamboo stalk. Now let's have a look at a character, Bian. Does it look like the footprint of an animal? The character depicts the claws of an animal and signifies to separate or to distinguish. This explains how characters began to take shape based on the tracks of birds and animals. The basic characters were developed from daily life phenomena. The ancient forms of Chinese characters include the oracle bone script, bronze script, and small seal script. Oracle bone scripts are inscriptions on turtle shells and animal bones from the Shang dynasty, which remain the earliest evidence of systematic characters to date. Next, there were inscriptions on bronze bells and vessels, which were mainly used in the Zhou dynasty. The small seal script was subsequently developed in the Qin dynasty and marks the divide between ancient and modern forms. An important book to be introduced is 说文解字, which has just been mentioned by Kelly and Catherine. 说文解字 is the earliest comprehensive Chinese character dictionary compiled around 100 CE. It was authored by Xu Sheng, a great Confucian scholar from the Eastern Han Dynasty. 说文 provides a comprehensive analysis of the ancient forms, sounds, and meanings of Chinese characters based on the 6 principles of character construction, 六书. It collects 9,353 characters, which are categorized under 440 radicals. Xu Sheng used quotations from the ancient classics to explain the characters. Thus, 说文 is considered to be the representation of the wisdom of ancient sages and the treasure of traditional Chinese culture. The title 说文解字 literally means explaining 文, which has simple characters, and analyzing 字, which are compound characters. Next, let me interpret the concept of 文字, character. In ancient times, the 2 characters that form the term 文字 had distinct meanings. The character 文 resembles intersecting brush strokes. Doesn't the ancient script look like the patterns produced through criss-cross lines? Wen refers to simple characters which are indivisible. Combining simple characters Wen creates compound characters 字. The character 字 is made of two simple characters. Its top part is 年, which resembles the outline of a house. Its bottom part is 子, which resembles a child. When combined, 字 depicts a child under a roof. When the child grows up, he also has his own children and then grandchildren, thus propagating generation after generation. Thereby, 字 originally means to propagate. One of the unique features of Chinese characters is that they are ideographic, unlike alphabetic languages which are phonological. Alphabetic languages vary with the change of dialects. Due to geographical separation, differences in the spoken language developed. Although there are differences in Chinese dialects, when they are written on paper, you will find no regional differences. The written words won't vary with the change of dialects. Therefore, there is no obstacle to communication. That's because Chinese characters are visual symbols which mark their meaning with form. Alphabetical languages are symbols of phonemes, which mark their pronunciation with letters. Languages change with time, and alphabetical languages change as their spoken form changes. For example, Old English in the age of Beowulf is much different from present-day English and cannot be understood by modern English speakers, as the pronunciations and the spellings have changed a lot. However, the written forms of Chinese characters generally remain the same, be it in the Tang Dynasty or the Song Dynasty or modern times. Today, we can still appreciate the beauty of a Tang poetry. Chinese characters have enabled long-established Chinese cultural traditions of thousands of years to be handed down to the present day. Chinese characters facilitate the continuous spiritual connection with the ancients and enable the cultural treasures and wisdom to be transmitted from generation to generation. They serve as a crucial medium to reach back into the past and enable us to learn from the wisdom embedded in ancient classics. The prerequisites for a foundational study of Chinese culture start with the study of its characters. The ancient Chinese invented characters in a very scientific way with much wisdom. With a willingness to learn and a proper method of study, anyone can master them. This is the brief introduction of Chinese characters. Thanks for listening. Next, let's welcome Professor Zhu to continue to introduce the study of ancient Chinese phonology and tell us some interesting stories about phonetic evolution of the Chinese language. Now let's welcome Professor Zhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Susi. Now, in this part, I will talk about a very important aspect of the Chinese language, phonology. I will focus on the field of its historical evolution. Historical Chinese phonology deals with the reconstruction of sounds of ancient Chinese. As Chinese is written in logographic characters, not alphabetic letters or syllabary, the methods employed in historical Chinese phonology differ considerably from those employed in, for example, Indo-European languages. The phonetic reconstruction of Chinese, ancient Chinese sounds is a little bit complicated because, unlike Indo-European languages, no phonetic spellings are used. However, you will find a lot of fun in the process of research and learning. Chinese has been documented over a long period of time, with the earliest auric bones writings dating back to 1250 BCE. Ancient Chinese is written mostly in logographic characters, which do not directly specify the phonology of the language. Thus, the reconstruction depends to a large extent on ancillary sources that more directly record the phonology of language. Based on these sources, historical Chinese is generally divided into the following periods. The first one is Old Chinese. The Old Chinese period is from approximately 1250 BCE to 25 CE. The reconstruction of Old Chinese is based on the phonetic components of Chinese characters and the rhymes of early poetry, such as Shi Jing, the book of poetry, which is assumed to present the language of 1000 to 700 BCE. The next one is Middle Chinese. The Middle Chinese period is from around the 5th century CE to the 12th century, including the Northern and Southern dynasty, Sui, Tang, and Song dynasty. The reconstruction of Middle Chinese is usually based on the concrete phonetic material, which is the rhyme dictionary, 切韵, later expanded into the more complete 广韵, a rhyme book. 切韵 describes a compromise between the northern and southern varieties. The rhyme dictionaries are essential to read and write rhyming poetry. And the last one is modern varieties. Modern varieties refer to the phonology from around the 13th century CE to the present times. Most modern varieties appear to have split off from Middle Chinese around 1000 CE. The cross-cultural interaction in different languages has promoted each nation's linguistic concepts and research method. During the long process of history, the Chinese language is not exceptional. It has been influenced by other cultures, and yet continued to play an important role in the cross-cultural exchange between civilizations in world history. We will discuss Chinese phonology in 3 ways. First, the influence of ancient Sino-Indian on historical Chinese phonology, the translation of Buddhist scripture, and the cross-cultural exchange between China and India have benefited the analytical skills in Chinese phonology. Phonology has become a fundamental study in reading ancient Chinese classics and inheritance of ancient culture. Next, we will explore and compare the linguistics studies by Chinese and Western scholars since the 17th century, and how Chinese phonology was inspired by Western languages after the 19th century. Chinese scholars have absorbed new linguistic concepts and methods. They have gained more understanding of the commonality of languages, which contributed to the study and the reconstruction of the consonants in archaic Chinese. Lastly, we will talk about the application of phonological knowledge in teaching Chinese as a foreign language. It introduces how to apply the basic rules of Chinese phonology in teaching Chinese as a second language. Through the understanding and application of Chinese phonology, we were able to trace the origin of words and understand why this is so expressed. The application of Chinese phonology in Chinese language teaching is a useful and valuable technique. Next, let's talk about some interesting stories about the ancient Chinese phonology. The first story is Chinese appellation of father, the formation of Baba. Have you heard that Confucius did not know the character Ba, father? Then, how did Confucius call Papa? Nowadays, Chinese kids call their father Ba, but you can't find the character in the book 说文解字, an ancient dictionary written by the Han scholar Xu Sheng. The Chinese character Ba appeared after the 3rd century CE. Then, how did the Chinese people call their fathers in Confucius' time? Now, let's see the reason why there was no written form of the word Ba in Confucius' times, and how the kids called their father during the period. Let's have a look at some rules of the evolution of Chinese phonology. In ancient Chinese, the character Fu was used for father. Why father was called Fu instead of Ba? Why father was not called as Papa in ancient Chinese, just like other civilizations in the world today? The answers can be revealed in the history of phonology. Qian Daxing, a Chinese scholar of the Qing dynasty, had a great discovery in the evolution of pronunciation over a long period of time. He believed that the current consonant F was pronounced as P in ancient times. With the application of his theory, the initial consonant of the character Fu was originated from the Old Chinese P. Another rule in the evolution of Chinese phonology is that today's vowel U is originally pronounced as A. The character Fu in Old Chinese should be pronounced as Ba when these two rules are applied in the pronunciation of Fu. Therefore, we can understand that in ancient China, children also called their father Papa, just as in all the other languages in the world. After the 3rd century, a new character, ba, was created with a phonetic symbol, ba, added below the character fu. Since the pronunciation of the character fu changed from ba to fu, it is no longer suitable for recording the appellation of Father Ba. Therefore, although Confucius did not know the character Ba, he still called his father Baba, which was written as Fu in Confucius' time. Furthermore, I will introduce to you the story and the evolution of the word cha, tea. Do you think that Confucius also drank tea just like us for centuries? Tea has been the most popular drink for every Chinese household. People believe that tea is beneficial for health. Tea is considered one of the necessities in their daily life. Let's have a look at the evolution of the Chinese character for tea. What kind of tea did Confucius drink? It was tu. There are two cognate words for tea in Chinese, cha and tu. Dating back to over 1,000 years ago, Chinese ancestors found a kind of herbal plant which tastes bitter and cool. They called it tu. They fermented the leaves of tu and made a mellow and relaxing drink. They continued improving their skills in fermentation and finally produced a new kind of drink, cha. Later, many kinds of fine tea were produced. They wrote the fine tea as cha, which is slightly different from tu. Later, tea ceremony, cha dao, and the tea culture developed in the Tang Dynasty. The tea culture gradually spread from China to the whole world. Up to the present time, the words for tea in all languages originated from Chinese. In Korean, the tea in the word tea house, da bang, is pronounced as da. Tea is pronounced as de in both the Ming dialect of China, spoken in Fujian and Taiwan, and French, te. In English, cha is pronounced as tea. It is a foreign word which evolved from the cognate words cha and tu in ancient Chinese. Through this example, we can see that the low vowel a gradually shift into the high vowel e. This sound shift in Chinese coincides with the change of the vowels in English. We call it the great vowel shift. This change is considered as a universal rule in linguistics. How did the pronunciation of cha change from da to de and eventually to ti? Firstly, the words tu and cha in Mandarin originated from the same pronunciation da. Secondly, the modern Chinese, the word cha, keeps the original final a. The word Tu retains the original initial T. This represents their cognitive relationship. Teaching the Chinese language could be easy and effective if we combine the knowledge of Chinese phonology and the rules of phonetic change with the written and spoken Chinese in modern times. Once the distinctive characteristics of Chinese words and their pronunciation are identified through the study of Chinese phonology, the same rules is applicable to other words in Chinese. This knowledge would make Chinese teaching more efficient. Furthermore, we will introduce the change of meanings of Chinese characters and introduce some characteristics of Chinese grammar and the formation of Chinese words. How have they evolved over thousands of years? Besides, we will make a clear understanding about the differences between Chinese grammar and Western grammar. In addition, we will also explain how Chinese words are constructed. What are the rules? We hope this knowledge can also be applied to better understanding of ancient classics. The above is an overview of Chinese philology. I hope you will enjoy it. This is the end of my presentation. Thanks for listening.